Action. Good afternoon everybody, it's Tuesday the 2nd of February 2016. I'm going to be doing two videos today. I'm going to put them on different days obviously. First Blu-ray set I'm going to show you is all the pickups I got from Benidorm in Spain and Majorca. Every time I go on holiday I always go to the big main areas to see what Blu-rays are available, and pretty cheap most of them. So, and the second one I'm going to be doing a video all about my Amazon German Blu-rays, so I hope you're looking forward to that one. So we're going to start off with my nice pile of Spanish Blu-rays that I pick up when I go on holiday. I get them because they're pretty cheap, a lot cheaper than England actually, and some of them are not available in the UK. So we're going to kick off a double bill. This was it cost me €8. We are talking Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers and John Travolta, Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry in Swordfish double bill. Really good films. Natural Born Killers is great fun. It's gory, it's violent, but really good film. A good transfer on this one as well. Swordfish is a good thriller. It's not great, it's good, not brilliant, but the beginning of it where they hold the cafe up and it's all done in slow motion is fantastic, brilliant work. And that, as I said, was €8, so pretty good deal that one. That's Natural Born Killers and Swordfish. Second one up, it came out in the UK and all over the place. I didn't like the second one, I didn't like the third one, and I didn't like the remake. We're talking about Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop. Experience it at maximum high def, they said. This one was €9. Most of them were all in deals, so when you look at the euros, you look at about £6.5 when they first come out. It's a really good film. It reminded me of Judge Dredd and Dirty Harry. When I first seen this in the 80s, I didn't like it. I thought, not for me. But reviewing it again, I've not watched this version because a lot of them shrink wrap because I've not got time. It takes time to watch them all. Rewatching it last year on a download, I enjoyed it. Good fun. That's Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop, and it's uncut, totally uncut. The UK version has always been trimmed. I don't know what the new version of it is like, the re-release, but they always cut the UK version. That's RoboCop. Next one up, a classic western from the late 60s, early 70s. Sam Peckinpah's violently fantastic The Wild Bunch, or as they call it in Spain, Grupo Salveo. William Holden, Ernest Borgnine, Robert Ryan, Edmund O'Brien, Warren Oates, Jamie Sanchez and Ben Johnson. They're basically a bunch of outlaws who dress as sheriffs to go and rob a bank, and it's how they infiltrate the bank and everything like that. It's all done in Sam Peckinpah's violently bloody, amazing camera work, amazing direction. If you've never seen The Wild Bunch, this is how westerns are made. Absolutely great film. Again, €7.90, £6. There we go. Next up, there's 4 in this set. Sorry, 3. I will just replace that one, so I apologise. There's loads more, but the artwork is different. These are all from Universal. There's 3 of them now, war films. I'm going to start off with Liam Neeson, Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List. The artwork's amazing. The girl with the red coat, black and white drawing. There's the back of it. These are like €9 a set, but you get 3 of them for like €15, so it's quite cheap really. I've never ever seen Schindler's List all the way through. Let me know what you think of them all. The reason I haven't watched it all the way through is the bits of scene, it upset me. I don't, I'm an old now, I'm an old man, so, and because it's real, it's true, it's realistic. It's hard to watch, really hard to watch. I am going to get round to watching the whole film. The bits of scene are fantastic. Spielberg's done a great job, but I just find it difficult to watch because it's so true. And, anybody especially young people nowadays, should watch things like this to realise the world they're living in now is a lot different than it was then. That's Schindler's List. Great artwork on that as well. I love the cover. Next up is Francis Ford Coppola's The Deer Hunter. Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, George Dezunda. What can you say? Meryl Streep's in it as well. Another great artwork. He's got the red bandana where they do the Russian roulette. It's basically the Vietnam War, nearly 3 hours long. A lot of people think, oh, it's a Vietnam War, it's Vietnam War. You only see about 40 minutes of the Vietnam War. Most of it is the build-up. These are all Pittsburgh miners who have all been called up to serve in Vietnam. It's about a group of miners and how their lives are affected and their families' lives and everything. And the first hour is all about them and a wedding and everything, and they go looking for deer because they're hunters at the end of the day. Then they end up in Vietnam, and it's what happens after Vietnam. Michael Cimino has done a great film with this. If you've never seen The Deer Hunter, it's a really good film. It's violent, but Robert De Niro is just amazing in it. And Christopher Walken, wow, what can you say? Absolutely amazing film. Again, fantastic artwork, really good Spanish one. That's The Deer Hunter. Next up, another Vietnam one, Francis Ford Coppola this time. Marlon Brando, Martin Sheen, who had a heart attack while making this film. We're talking Apocalypse Now. Absolutely stunning cover. That's Marlon Brando's character. Martin Sheen's in it. Harrison Ford's got a small role in it as well, as in Robert Duvall's got a role. This is amazing Vietnam War film. Absolutely amazing. And I won't say too much about it. Even Lawrence Fishburne's in it, a very young Lawrence Fishburne, who lied to Francis Ford Coppola about his age to tell him that he was actually 21 when he was filming it, when in actual fact he was only 15 years old. And Coppola didn't know this, which is a little fact that might people might not know. Again, stunning artwork, a really good sleeve. Apocalypse Now, Ride of the Valkyries, amazing. You've got to watch this film, fantastic. Next up, one of my biggest heroes ever. Love the guy, love his films, love his acting. I used to be in the Appreciation Society years ago. I've even been to his ranch in Carmel. I've been to visit Carmel, been to the Hog's Breath Inn, his radio station. We're talking Clint Eastwood, an 80s classic, Heartbreak Ridge. Funny, loved it, great film. It's serious, it's funny, it's everything. It's about a Marine, Sergeant Marine, who's nearly retired. He gets drunk, alcoholic, everything else. He can't keep his women, and he's got to basically get a group of ragtag soldiers in line and go to Grenada to fight a war. Good fun. I loved it. Heartbreak Ridge, another Spanish one, €8, bargain. Next up, he died in 1977. He's a legend. He's amazing. We're talking Elvis on tour. Absolutely great. If you love Elvis, you love his music, and boy, this is a show. This guy is a showman. Absolutely brilliant live. I wish I'd loved to have seen him as a kid, but obviously we don't. We're never going to get to see him or the likes of him again. If you want a good old-fashioned sing-along, great music, Elvis on tour. Fantastic. There we go. Next up, one of the best disaster movies ever made. Nowadays you get San Andreas and Volcano and Dante's Peak and all them days. In our day, these were disaster movies. Poseidon Adventure started it all off. Then in the mid-70s, about 74, we had an all-star cast of Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Fred Astaire, Susan Blakey, Richard Chamberlain, Jennifer Jones, O.J. Simpson, Robert Vaughn and Robert Wagner, Owen Allen's The Towering Inferno. €12 this cost me, but I got another deal with it, so it cost me pretty cheap. This is an epic. It's basically about a high-rise building which was fireproof on everything, top of the range for its year, and it catches fire. And it's spectacularly great fun. If you love your old-fashioned disaster films and action and everything, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, cool as cucumbers. Brilliant film. Great artwork, great picture. If you want to see a good old-fashioned film on a Saturday afternoon, shove it in the player and have a good time. There we go. Tower Inferno. Next up, a classic. Stephen King story. Short story made into an epic film. Starring Tom Hanks. The Green Mile. Or as they call it in Spain, La Milla Verde. Another €12.91, but you get 2 or 3 with it and it's pretty cheap. Absolutely fantastic movie. Prison film. Great. Michael Clark Duncan in it, the black guy, is just, you feel so sorry for him. You want to cry. He's fantastic in it. Tom Hanks, amazing performance, but Michael Clark Duncan does actually steal the film. Amazing, amazing performance. A great film. It's pretty grim in parts, but it's also fun. But the main story is so uplifting, so amazing. Everyone's got to see The Green Mile. There we go. Next up, John Carpenter went through a phase of the early 80s to the mid-80s where he made some great films. He went off the boil a bit, then he come back with a film called In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill, who's a novelist. Great artwork on the front, great picture. Who's a novelist who writes this big hit, but he's trying to write the ultimate novel looking for a guy called Sutter Kane. And he goes to this small town to try and find this Sutter Kane. Is he real? Is he fiction? Is it not? And it's basically psychologically bonkers he is, but it's a great little horror film. It's not too gory, but it's a good old-fashioned scare you, make you think horror. I love it. That's John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. Another €8 bargain. Next we come up to Kevin Kline. Is it Penelope Cruz? I can't remember it. Oh no, Salma Hayek and Will Smith. Now, as far as I'm aware, this isn't available in England on Blu-ray, but it is in Spain. I love the Wild Wild West, Wiki Wild Wild, and Kenneth Branagh's in it as the baddie. It's good old fun. It flopped at the cinema. Everyone slated it for its time, but you watch it, it's great fun. Absolute popcorn-tastic, as they say. Wild Wild West, another one. It cost me about €7, and it's not, as far as I'm aware, available in the UK. It might have been released now, but it isn't on this. If you want a good old-fashioned fun, that's another great Saturday afternoon movie. Will Smith, Kevin Kline, Wild Wild West, brilliant. Right, this is Harrison Ford before he did Star Wars, The Force Awakens and a couple of others. He made this film a couple of years ago. I picked it up pretty cheap, €9, 3 for €15 if you get this one. Science fiction set in the future, Ender's Game it's called. In Spain they call it El Juego de Ender. And it's alright. Harrison Ford only has a small part in it really, because he's not really the main character. It's all about a boy who's good at arcade games and everything, and he gets thrown into this war in the future and he has to become a pilot and everything. It's good old-fashioned fun. For €9 it's not bad. It's got a good soundtrack on it as well. Most of these have all got 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound DTS master audio. Another remake that came in the mid to late 2000s. I like the original by Paul Verhoeven with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're talking about Colin Farrell, Total Recall. Bryan Cranston's in it as well from Breaking Bad. It's alright. I personally didn't like it because it didn't have the feel of... Because Total Recall is about Mars and everything else. This isn't even set in Mars. It's not. And it was alright, but it was cheap, so I picked it up. It was like in the deal. I couldn't think of anything else to get, so I thought, I'll get this. So it's not bad. It's not great. I prefer the original. That's Total Recall. Next up, 1981, Sean Connery. I suppose you could talk it in the same vein as Blade Runner. He plays a US Marshal who gets sent to a space station in the future, because there's people being killed and everything, and there's also drugs being sold and distributed on this space station. We're talking the classic Outlander, Atmosfero Cielo, or Outlander as we call it. And a lot of people at the time didn't like this when it first released, but since then it's got a cult following. I enjoyed it. He basically plays a sheriff. If you think about it, as a Wild West town in space on this station, and he's got a kick-ass, and it's really good. I enjoyed it. So if you get a chance for a bit of old sci-fi classic, Outlander on Blu-ray, great film. Right, we're getting up again. This film came out in 1971, stars Edward G. Robinson in one of his last films he ever made, and Charlton Heston, and also a small cameo by Ethel Merman. We're talking about a science fiction classic, Soylent Green. To quote its Spanish title, Cuando el destino nos alcance. Now this is also set in the future, when Earth is running out of food and everyone's scrambling, and the rich people are the ones that eat. The poor people have to eat this substance called Soylent Green. To give any more away would spoil it if you've never seen it. It's a science fiction classic. Charlton Heston, again, he plays like a police officer sergeant, and he has to basically find out what's killing all these people and why. And it's all about corruption and high corporate people and money. And who's got the money gets the glory. It's really good. It's a science fiction classic. If you get a chance to see it, that's Soylent Green. Brilliant film. Next up, another John Carpenter classic. Very B-movie, tongue-in-cheek. Jason Statham, Ice Cube, Natasha Hendrickson, Ghosts of Mars. Love this film. Great fun. It's basically another ghost town on Mars. This force, or these people, or these monsters that are killing everybody. Bit like Aliens, this group of ragtag soldiers have to go and find out what's going on and why, and try and stop this force. And it's great fun. B-movie action, loads of kick-ass. John Carpenter's great score. Special effects, loved it. Ghost of Mars, not bad. Next up, I think it's just been released or coming out on Blu-ray in the UK. They've done a musical version of it with Matt Smith from Doctor Who playing this character. Huey Lewis and the News music was in it. It's got a great 80s soundtrack, and Christian Bale is just fantastic. We are talking about American Psycho. Great film, based on a book from the 80s about a yuppie killer who has got what we call nowadays OCD. Basically, he's a clean freak and an A to Z, and everything's got to be immaculate. And this guy is just completely and utterly bonkers. As I said, I got this from Spain. It's got obviously all the Spanish writing, but as a film, I've heard they're going to remake it again. I don't know if that's true, but American Psycho is great fun. It's gory, some bloody parts in it, but Christian Bale, what a performance. Absolutely amazing. If you want a good old fun, you get a chance to see it. American Psycho, top notch. Right, I've got 4 more from his Spanish collection. This film, when I first watched it, I didn't like it. I thought, no, not into this at all. Watched it again, loved it. Got into it, loved it. I've seen it a few times since. I picked it up on Blu-ray in Spain again, as I said. Stars John Goodman, Donald Sutherland, and a towering performance by Denzel Washington. Fallen. Absolutely great film. Denzel Washington is amazing. The quick storyline, if you've never seen it, is there's a serial killer about to be killed on death row at the beginning. Denzel Washington is caught him, and he's in the gas chamber. Everyone's there watching, getting ready to watch this guy be killed for what he's done. And he keeps singing "Time Is On My Side" by the Rolling Stones. And he spouts all this mumbo jumbo at the beginning of the film. And the premise is the spirit of the dead killer can jump from body to body, so you never know who the killer is, and the killings carry on after this man's been killed. Is it his spirit? Is it all in Denzel's head? You're never gonna. It's one of them thrillers you have to sit down, a couple of beers, bottle of wine, Saturday night. Great film, absolutely brilliant. I love Fallen, Denzel Washington. Right, I went to see these films in the early 80s with my mate Phil Lamb. I've seen part 1 and 2 on the Palace Theatre in Leven Dune Cinema. When I come out, I was only 16. I shit myself and ran home terrified. We are talking, they've now done 10 or 11 sequels and a remake. Friday the 13th, part 1. Vendredi 13, that's the original one. And this one doesn't have Jason Voorhees in it as the killer. It's his I'm not going to tell you who the killer is. But it's basically a bunch of teenagers go to this campsite to set it up for the summer, and there's a killer going around killing everybody one by one. Great fun, great laugh. 80s dialogue, 80s action, 80s gore. Love it. Friday the 13th. That's the uncut version as well. This came out a couple of years back. It was made by TV stars Tom Hardy, Jason Priestley and Damian Lewis from Band of Brothers. We're talking the remake of Colditz, or Escape from Colditz as they call it. It's a 3-hour mini TV show. I picked it up for €5 actually. It's been on ITV3 recently, and it's a good rendition of the story of Colditz. Tom Hardy's very young in this before he became really famous, and Damian Lewis before Band of Brothers. But as a nostalgic trip, World War II, great fun. So €5, 3 hours long. 185 minutes. Escape from Colditz. And lastly but not least, you have my Spanish set. Burt Reynolds, John Voight, Ned Beatty, Ronnie Cox, John Bowman the director. 1972 Deliverance. Great film. Absolutely great. Squeal like a pig. 4 guys want to tackle this river in the Everglades up in America before it gets filled in and becomes houses and whatever they're going to do with it. So they travel down on the cars and everything to get on these canoes and tour this river. And they upset the locals. That's the basic premise, and it's basically a game of survival. Absolute classic. Scary. Not supposed to be scary, but it's scary. It's atmospheric. The cinematography is amazing. The colours, the water, everything, the rapids, the trees. It's just amazing to look at. Burt Reynolds is cold, calculated, and damn nasty when he wants to be. But he's like the leader. Ned Beatty is the shy, quiet one. Ronnie Cox is the brains one, and John Voight is basically the scaredy cat. But they all have to step up to the plate, as they say. Deliverance is great. That's my Spanish lot for now. Till I go to Benidorm in March, and I'll get some more then. Hope you enjoyed the little video. Coming up next is a video all about my German releases that I bought from Amazon. I got onto Amazon Germany because of my mate Daniel Orton, who put me onto it. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all real soon. Take care. Bye from Ern. Trap.